what's going on? This is your old pal CHH, and today is part 2 of the KINO Lorber new title reviews. Full disclosure, I was sent these titles to review, but I'm here to tell you, they didn't say, hey, you need to lie. I'm going to review them. I'm going to be totally honest, and I'll tell you which one of the two I think is the safest bet to get, as well as one that has a competitor with a Scream Factory Blu-ray that I own. I think the other one had a Scream Factory release too, but I think it's out of print, so we're not going to worry about that as of right now. But let's get into it, guys. If you missed the first episode, I'll say this. We did the Uncle Buck and Summer Rental, which I enjoyed both of those, and I honestly thought both of them looked really good. We even had an interesting discussion about what's more important, restoration or the format, and it seems like a lot of you guys have the thought that I agree with, which is restoration is fairly important. But that's not always the end-all be-all, as we might find out in this video. So without further ado, let's actually, get into it. So the first one I want to talk to you about comes from the KINO cult line. I like the KINO cult line. It's an interesting line. I've definitely got some good titles from them. I've got Frogs, which is a movie I recommend every day till Sunday from KINO. Another title that Scream Factory had, but Frogs is a great movie. It's got Sam Elliott, as well as Squirm, which came back in print. But this movie we have is Crawlspace. Now, Crawlspace is a Klaus Kinski film. Now, if you're not familiar with Klaus Kinski, he is one of the most deranged actors in history. He infamously played Nosferatu in the 1979 film, and his performance is just bizarre and just uncomfortable to watch, but riveting. The 1979 Nosferatu is not a movie I would recommend to everybody, but it's something I think everybody should see just to see his performance. Whether you like it or not, that's on you, but you have to see Klaus Kinski. He's just a strange human, and I think he's even really like a bad person in real life, or was. He's since passed. I think back in 1991 he might have passed away, but I think his daughter came out and shared some horror stories. The word is that the guy was genuinely unhinged in his mind, and somehow him being able to act out his personalities, if you will, throughout movies kind of kept him from truly being a criminal, because a lot of people think he would have been like a serial killer or a mass murderer had he not been an actor. There's a lot of stories about Klaus Kinski out there. I'll tell you why, just initially, why I'd recommend this title. It's an Empire picture, which means it's part of the Charlie Band catalog. A lot of people have their feelings about Full Moon, but I think the Empire catalog is something a lot of people have bigger expectations and kind of like appreciation for. That was the 80s, where he was working with Stuart Gordon. He was working with, Brian Hughes and other guys, including David Schmoller, who is one of the most unsung genre directors, I think. David Schmoller has done some great films, including Crawlspace, including Puppet Master. Super great director, but he's not talked about in the pantheon, and that breaks my heart, because I love David Schmoller movies. I think you do too. You may just not realize it. But what is Crawlspace? Crawlspace is Klaus Kinski playing a landlord in this apartment complex, and he's basically a kidnapping voyeur, and his performance in this is truly creepy. Just the way he interacts with the tenants when they come to meet him to see if they have a vacancy in the apartment complex, it's so uncomfortable. And his performance, albeit you're through his point of view through a lot of things, doesn't make it any more comfortable when you get behind the curtain of the bad guy in the movie. Sometimes when you see their side, it kind of demystifies them. But in this case, Kinski is just unsettling and creepy, and just, it's hard to watch him. It's hard to watch him. For what it's worth, his performance in this is really good. Crawlspace is a hidden gem, quite frankly, in my opinion, in the Empire catalog. We could talk about Reanimator. We could talk about Ghoulies. We could talk about From Beyond. We could talk about a myriad of titles, and I think Crawlspace is one that should be higher up when the discussion of Empire comes up. That's just my opinion. But I like this movie a lot. I think there's an audience for it, if you haven't seen it. It's a really good film. I did not get this from Scream Factory. I think this might have been part of a double pack. I could be wrong. It might have had an individual release. Regardless, I didn't get it. I know it's probably out of print. It should be, if it's not. But when KINO got this, I was excited, and when I had the opportunity to review it, I was really excited. The story goes that Kinski and David Schmoller got into a fight so bad that Kinski actually pulled a knife and was getting ready to kill David, and Charlie Band had to literally be rushed on set from his office space to the set of the film to literally talk Kinski out of killing the director. And no, that's not a made-up story, and Charlie even wrote about it in his book, which I read. Crazy movie. Here's the thing. I thought this movie looked really good. Now, I don't remember if this said anything about a restoration. I know it's brought out as a 1080p, which probably means I don't know what the elements are. You guys may know better than me what they use. Maybe it's a studio master, if you will. But regardless, here's what I'll say. I thought it looked good. I thought this movie was perfectly serviceable at the HD quality that it was. I didn't find myself saying, you know what, man, I just need this to be in 4K. It looked good. I had no qualms about the appeal and look of this film. I would gather to say that it probably looks identical or at least very, very similar to the Scream Factory one. But again, that would be hearsay because I don't have it. I'd give the picture quality on this an 8 out of 10. I mean, a lot of movies, Blu-ray is perfectly fine, I think. And I was happy with this. So right there, I'll give this an 8 out of 10. In terms of special features, let's look at what we got. We have an audio commentary by writer-director David Schmaler, an audio commentary with film historian John Harrison, an interview with makeup effects artist John Vulick, Please Kill Mr. Kinski, a short film by David Schmaler, which was riveting stuff, theatrical trailer, and TV spots. So here's the slipcase you'll get. Like I said, this is part of the KINO cult line, which I think is going to end up being one of their probably more successful lines. You can have this art on the front, or you can reverse the art to this classic 80s cover art. I think you guys will like this. Look at that. Klaus Kinski Crawlspace. I love that. I thought that looked really good. So there you have it, guys. Nice Blu-ray cases. The KINO Blu-ray cases are nice, sturdy, non-recyclable cases. I'm a recyclable guy, but I like something to feel sturdy in my hands. Perfectly fine release. Very, very, just serviceable, good release of the film. I recommend this one. I recommend Crawlspace a lot. That's a good release. Check that one out. I think it's okay if you blind buy it. I think if you're willing to trust me, if you're a viewer of this channel and you kind of know the movies I like, I think you're okay if you haven't seen it to go ahead and give it a shot. But hey, I'm sure it's streaming somewhere. Most of these movies are on Tubi if you want to check it out. At least give it 10 or 15 minutes. I think once you see how Kinski is, you'll be like, okay, I want to get the movie. All right, guys, but here we go. Main event time. We've got the 4K UHD release of Graveyard Shift. Now, right off the bat, I'll say I do like the artwork that they did. This big rat with this nice blue. It's a different take on the release on the artwork. I don't know if this artwork was used anywhere before in the past. Maybe it was. I don't know if that was the book cover. I don't know. So excuse me. I never did any research on that. My point is I like it. And it's a little bit thicker feeling than some of their usual slipcases. I don't know why. It feels dense. Maybe it's the kind of material that they used for this slipcover. I don't know, but if you get it, there's a different feel to it. It's nice. It's nice. Let's just get into it. Graveyard Shift, 1990. This is a charming Stephen King movie. I really like this one. Now, there are movies from Stephen King's catalog that eventually become all-time classics, like The Shining, Misery, It, things like that. I don't think Graveyard Shift is that, but it's just a movie that's really rewatchable and just entertaining. You got Brad Dourif playing the eccentric exterminator in this, who has some great one-liners. He steals the scenes he's in every time. Constantly steals the scenes he's in. It's all about this mill that operates in this horrible, horrible situation where it's infested with rats. Our lead actor is just kind of a traveling guy, gets a job here, has co-workers that he likes, but the boss is just evil, fires people at the drop of a hat, treats them like slaves, and there's some secret going on with this. These rats are just nonstop. We can't get rid of them. Why? What's going on? Well, you're going to find out what's going on in case you haven't seen it. But it's a charming movie. I would give the movie Graveyard Shift 4 stars. It's quality. Like, I really like it. But it's not something that's on the level of like a Misery or The Shining, but that's okay, This is like just one of those movies that's so rewatchable and charming and vintage. Got a great vintage vibe to it. Great cast. It's just a really cozy horror movie. That's the best way to put it. And there's some great practical effects in here as well. So the big thing is this. Interestingly enough, when I said I was going to be reviewing this, I had about 10 messages, maybe even more, about, I heard that restoration doesn't look good. I heard that restoration doesn't look good. What's going on? It's interesting. Okay. And I am going to compare it and talk to you guys about this release right here, which is the Scream Factory release, which I believe is still available. This is taken, it says, from a 4K scan of the negative, okay? 4K scan of the 35mm camera negative. Totally believe that. You could tell this is restored from to its highest level. But I'll be damned if there just aren't these moments that are interesting. I wouldn't say that this is an unpleasant 4K by any stretch. A lot of it looks, quite frankly, brilliant. Like, there's some great shots on, like, a pier inside of the mill where it's like a line of the rats, and they look so high def, it looks great. The sharpness and definition is out of this world good. But there's these weird moments when you see some of the actors up close in camera where they're clearly sweating because they're inside of this hot mill. There's almost this weird glittery, almost like artifacting on their face is the only way I can describe it. And I'm probably not describing it that well, but it's just a little distracting. Something seems like almost digital. So I thought I'd actually just take a video and let you guys see this. Let me back up. The image is great, but you just like, this is the only way I can describe it. It's almost like shimmery. You know that song by Fuel? She calls me from the cold. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, and it's only when they get really close to the camera where it's noticeable. You see that? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That shimmer. When they're not close to the camera, look how great it looks. You see? Everything, look how sharp that is. But when they get real close up, you see that shimmer on their face. And I almost wonder, I don't think that they did, see, perfectly fine, but they get closer, boom. I'm rambling. I just want to give you guys a look at this. Right now, he's fine. They get close up, there's this weird shimmer. So, but I just want to give you guys a video example of what I'm saying. No, I'm not going to say it's anything that's blatantly bad like the Subspecies 4 upscaling to a Blu-ray that Charlie Band did where he clearly just AI upscaled it. It's nothing like that. But those weird moments, I just couldn't help but not notice it. It didn't necessarily distract me from the movie as much as it could have, I guess, but I was like, I'm going to probably have to mention that on this review for sure. It certainly felt very, very grainy as well, but just a little more than usual with some of these restorations. I think that this is not the best 4K from KINO because of that, and I don't know what happened behind the scenes with that, if that's maybe that's just how it looks with people getting all that sweat and stuff on their face, or they're hosed down because they're supposed to look like they're sweating, and they have this weird, it's shimmery look on their face when you get close up to them. But yeah, I had to mention that. It's a little off. That's the only way I can really put it. The audio was really good on this, and as far as the Blu-ray went, same thing. I mean, the Blu-ray looks really, really good too. Clearly, it's from the same negative that they used, but even so, just those close-up shots, it's still kind of the same thing. So it's like, I would give this 4K really about the same, if not slightly lower of a review as the picture quality on Crawlspace. This is obviously on a Blu-ray scale, giving this an 8 out of 10. I would give this like a 7.7 out of 10. There are other 4Ks that they've done from Stephen King movies like Needful Things, which looked phenomenal, I thought. But this was just slightly uneven with those weird close-up shots of people's faces. I just want to drive that home so you guys understand what I'm talking about. But besides that, in case there's people listening to this that say, okay, well, is that it, Christian? I would say, yeah, that's really it. But it's worth mentioning. There is good news, though. You can reverse the art on this and have the original poster art on there. And the other bit of good news is it's got every bit of special features that this release had. They did port over all that, so good on them. And basically with that, you get interviews with the writer-director, you get interviews with the actor Stephen Mocht, interview with actor Robert Allen Buth, interview with actress Kelly Wolf, and the theatrical trailer. But on this one, not only do you get all that, the 4K that is, but you get a slew of trailers from KINO's horror line. There was trailers for like Monster Squad and things like that on there. So there's a bunch of trailers you can get too. So the question is, which one would I recommend? I'm gonna be honest with you, it's really tough. I think the average person out there, if I was describing this to you, my gut says a lot of you would probably say, well, is that it? Is it just those weird close-up moments where it looks a little shimmery on their faces? I'd be like, yeah, that's really it. I feel like most of you would say, I'm fine. That is, if the rest of it looks really great, awesome. If it's just those little moments. But if you are feeling like that would annoy me, then this is perfectly fine too. Overall, the picture quality on this is better. It's super like sharp and uncompressed looking. This is just, like I said, probably a studio master, if anything, probably like Crawlspace was. So it's hard for me to give a super definitive buy this one or buy this one. I'm just going to present you the facts and let you guys decide. You know, that's all I can do, really. That's all I feel comfortable doing. I don't want to tell you to all buy this and just say, oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, guys. Why? Because if you buy it and some of you like, God, I really don't like that, and I'd feel bad. But if some of you say that's the only thing, then you know, it is what it is, guys. So it's just not 4K of the year, in my opinion. I highly recommend Crawlspace. I think this is a grand slam release from KINO. It's just a great pick for them, and it's a great movie. But either way, I tell you what, when they have those sales, I would feel better saying pick this up when they have those sales. So that's that, guys. I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know your thoughts on that. If you have any more questions, let me know down below. I'll do my best to answer them. This is your old pal CHH. Drop a like on this video if you enjoyed it, and please sub if you're new here. Huge, giant thank you to all of my Patreon supporters. Without you guys, this would not be possible. To get behind-the-scenes photos, videos, music, private live streams, and much more, you can subscribe to my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. Thank you to my patrons.